Welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce, episode 40. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm the boyfriend.
Yeah, while you're out there tuning in, like always, rate, review, and subscribe on Stitcher and iTunes. And be sure to stop in and check out the website at lifelaughterdivorce.com.
Are you still updating things there?
I'm still updating things there regularly.
Yeah, I know. It's like changes all the time.
Yeah, little changes here and there. And so if you haven't been there in a while, you probably want to check it out and click on the retail therapy link. And that's where we have all of your great gift ideas for the holidays.
Or even taking care of yourself.
Yes, taking care of yourself is probably super, super important. We should just change that tab to self-care.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe. But
where else can you buy them at?
Where else? You can buy them on Facebook, you guys.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You can click on our products while you're out there surfing the social media platforms.
Should the boyfriend have a Facebook page?
Ooh. Well, let's put that to our listeners.
Yeah, we should check them out.
Should the boyfriend have a Facebook page? Yeah. Well, I don't know what we were waiting for. Our listeners can't answer right now.
Send us a thing on Facebook and let us know.
Yeah. Find us on Facebook. Tell us if the boyfriend, should have a page. What would you be doing on social media? That's what I wonder.
I have no idea.
So that's really cool. Hey, you know what? After you go through a breakup and everything, do you ever notice like sometimes really good things happen?
A long time afterwards.
Really?
Never happens right away.
It takes a while.
It takes a while.
But do you look back and go, "Ooh, that took a while"?
Well, there's a couple relationships where you're like, yeah, it's better, and things were good, and I did better things afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few relationships where you're like, well, that was that was not fun. And
were you about to say that was a day?
No, I wasn't going to go that far. But no, some are better. Some have better outcomes than others.
Right. True. Yeah. It's kind of funny because sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you don't see all the change that's happening. We just see things like falling apart. But then all of a sudden, it's like after a storm, all of a sudden the sun comes out again. You hear music and there's birds chirping.
We got a Disney movie, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know. Sometimes I just think that
Divorce is a Disney movie now.
Yes, it should be. The modern Disney. Sometimes I don't think we realize some of the good things that are coming out of it. But I really enjoyed talking to today's guest because all of the really cool things happening in her life came from that place, being in the middle of that shitstorm, if you will.
And she came out on the other side of that
doing really well,
doing amazing things.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for our guest today.
I love talking to people like this,
that take the drama and the negativity of it all and turn it into something very positive for themselves.
Yeah. And this is so cool. So, we had just mentioned holiday gifts and shopping. And while you're out there, you may want to check out our next guest site because she also may have some products that you like. In fact, I'm pretty sure she would. Our guest today is a celebrity men's grooming expert and skincare specialist, Miss Cole Patterson. Cole had really exciting things happen for her right after her divorce. Actually, they started just before her divorce did and are really taking off now. I'd like you to meet Miss Cole Patterson without further ado. Cole, welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for driving all the way over here. And we are very excited to have you on. You have some good stuff to share with us this evening, I'm sure.
I do. I'm sure I will. It'll be interesting. Absolutely.
So, Cole, you've been married once. And divorced once.
Yes.
Right? And you have children.
Yes.
All right. And can I ask how long you've been divorced?
4.5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Long enough?
Long enough to know. Yeah. Long enough to know.
Cool. And you have a really, really cool business.
I do. I do. I have a skincare line for men,
Mhm.
and that came about during the process of getting a divorce.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So where would you like to start?
Start where we want, wherever you want. I'm open.
Okay,
I'm an
well
open book right now.
well, how long were you married?
8 years.
8 years. That's a long
Well,
time.
4 years. 4 years took a divorce. Yeah. So a
The
total.
divorce took 4 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really? In here in California?
In Torrance.
Really?
Hmm.
That's a long time.
Thank you, Torrance.
I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness.
Well, not technically Torrance, LA County, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you find was your biggest challenge going through the divorce that it took so long?
Oh my God. I have so many. I don't know where to start. The actual biggest challenge of where to start was not wanting to let go of my kids,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think parents get so caught up on possession of the kids versus the equal rights of each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's ever said it that way. Possession of the kids.
Yeah.
So you were caught up on the possession or for the possession. Of
Yeah,
the
I was
kids.
caught up on the possession
Yeah.
of the kids. Like I just had in my mind that I'm going to lose my kids.
Mm.
I'm going to lose my kids. Not technically saying that that was even a possibility, but that was a big fear of mine. But I think it was more of a fear because as mothers, we're I guess through conception and carrying a child, you have a little bit more of a attachment to the child. Not to take anything away from dads, but
No, but there's a bond between a mother and a child.
Yes.
Yeah.
that you can't even explain. So having said that, I just felt like, no, they're mine, not ours. You know what I mean? I caught myself saying that a lot. And I think that's what kind of like started the rocky situation, being like, okay, well, if they're yours, they're mine too. You know, so it wasn't like it was never, equally composed upon like there are children. It was like
Right.
my children, your children, my children, that type of thing.
Actually, Dad Solo was on the podcast a while back. He goes by Dad Solo. And he actually talked about that. One of the things that he started rephrasing was, it's not, I have the children this weekend. I'm going to be with my children this weekend. And he said that he had to change his language that he used. So it's really interesting coming from a mom because like you were saying, you have that
The bond.
instant bond.
It was the
with a
instant
kid.
bond, but it also was like I didn't. How do I explain it? So when I say the possession of the kids, I totally negate the fact that he wasn't part of the kid's life, but just you know how society is set up where the mothers feel like they are over the dad in so instance, but now with everything going on in dad rights, they have a lot of rights as well.
Mhm.
But it became like a competition between us. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Is
and
that
that
what
was
took the 4 years to
that's
deal
what
with?
took the 4 years,
Yeah.
and also just money. Just not being wanting to. And that's another thing too. It's like it's so much stuff I
I
would
see the
say. I was just sitting here
smile.
like, oh my God. So there's another thing about where we get caught up on money so much.
Mhm.
And I mean, whoever has to pay it, if the mom has to pay it or if the dad has to pay it. And I'm just speaking from my perspective as a woman, and just hearing the conversation of the dad, it was basically like, I don't want to give you anything. You know what I mean? Like, you make enough money, I don't want to give you. Why should I have to give you? Instead of saying like, it's for the kids, and I think even parents miss a whole understanding of, if whichever parent has full custody or primary custody of the child, whoever makes the more money, if that person is comfortable in their finances, as far as the stability of their finances and being able to provide or even have a life for themselves, in addition to provide for their children's, it makes the children's life that much easier. You know what I mean? And I would just say from a perspective of a mother, if a mother is in a situation where child support is requested or anything like that, if she's what she does with the money, of course, that's a big thing, but you can't control that. And that she has to deal with the neglect of the finances not going towards the children versus you. Like, just give and hope that she does the right thing, which some parents do and some mothers don't, or maybe she paid too much something and want to drive a nice car or whatever it is. I think we get caught up on material possession as well in that aspect of not understanding that whoever has a kid and if their life is more comfortable, they're going to be a lot more mentally stable. They're not going to be as stressed out. They're going to be able to be a little bit more happier, even through the whole drama of a divorce.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things. There's so much stuff that, like, I think in the process of it that I've learned about relationships. I've learned about the court system. I've learned about looking at it from the dad's perspective, you know, more so over myself. And like I said, initially it was a possession thing. And I think it was just with my ex, it was probably like more of an ego thing than anything. And then it was like, okay, really? All right, so we're going to do this. And you forget about the children.
Mm.
So,
What was it? When was it that you actually had your moment of, okay, we need to put closure on this and move on?
last year,
Really?
it took that long. It took me so long to figure out. Yeah, I will say that after being tied up in court for 4 years and spending all this nonsense money and just the way that things were, like, you supply documents, you subpoena this, and then you get a continuance, and then that court date doesn't go through, and then you're like, then you got to resupply all that other information, and then next thing you know, you have paper files of like 10 boxes long, you know, then you got to go, like, you have to keep constantly repeating information that you've already supplied because the court system is so, normally it's inundated in files and paperwork and other things. It's just, it keeping a track of a calendar, who has a kid more versus this, like, it's just so tedious. Like, and I did it because I felt like I had to do it, and that's what I was told to do. But when I look back on it, I'm like, that was such a waste of time and energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, it took so much. And then, but once I was in a fight, I was like, we're just gonna fight to the end. I can't give up now because I'm not a quitter. You brought us here, so this is what we're gonna do. And it came a point where he wanted to surrender, but at that time it was so much untrustworthy things going on that it just was like, no, you wanted this. This is where we're gonna go. And I think, was it last year or the year before last? I think it was maybe last year before last, and some like very shisty stuff happened, and it was like you fight for so much, and then you realize it was a joke. That's basically what happened. Like, when we went to court to get a trial date, it was like, okay, we had a court date in May to get everything finances, put everybody's finances on out in the opening. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, really? This is all? So basically $300 for this, for 2 kids. This is what I spent over $25,000-$30,000 for 4 years in court.
Oh
We
my
could have just
God.
basically had a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was so, I laughed. When I tell you, I laughed so hard. And I told my attorney, I was like, oh my God. I said, you are the only one that's happy about this situation. I was like, my kids could have went on 4 international trips
Yeah.
each year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, spending all this money and tying it up in court. I just felt like Wow. Okay. This is interesting. But you don't know when you're in it. You just don't really look at the big picture. You don't take yourself out of the situation to look at it as a whole, because when you're in the fight, you're fighting each other. It has nothing to do with the children,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, well, you need to pay for this or you need to pay for this. And you forget about the kids. And that's basically what it is. So I just basically, and we use them as pawns, as a possession of trying to control the other person or trick the other person into doing whatever or not doing. So it's a lot of, it was a lot of learning.
Yeah. That sounds exhausting.
It was so exhausting. So basically, to make a long story short, so we were in court, and when we looked at the finances and what happened, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I was like, whatever he wants to pay or not pay is fine. I can't do it anymore. But his whole thing was like, all right, you're going to keep this up? Basically, I'm going to make you pay me. And that's what basically, it was basically what he was trying to do, which it didn't happen, but it was not that much. And I was like, this is such a waste of time and money. I can't believe I wasted 4 years of my life and just being consumed by this, not even, just being stressed out about this for 4 years for this. And I was like, this is ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. I mean, it was laughable.
How is it now with your kids?
My kids are fine. Like
Yeah.
they're, the funny thing is that sometimes where there's two situations to it. We always say, oh, kids, they'll be all right. They'll be fine. That's us speaking. That's parents speaking and thinking that they will be fine. For the first couple of years, my kids were very torn. We had 50-50 custody at the time, and it was devastating for them. They were 3 and 5 at the time. And it wasn't a good situation, but like I said, you were so consumed with what was going on, you overlooked what the kids were going through, and you were like, oh, they'll be fine. Or people were like, oh, they'll be fine. And then you smother them with extra love and things, thinking that's going to correct it. But it doesn't. And then you have a situation where they do become very resilient, and they're champions. They're bigger and more amazing than we are as parents, because they know how to adjust very quickly, because they're not tainted by certain things. They know certain things don't make them feel good. They know that, I'm sad about this, but they move on and they look for the happiness part of it. But with adults, we don't do that.
No.
You know what I mean? We want to hold on to everything. We're just like, and we want to just stay mad. But kids are amazing. My kids are good. They're amazing. They've gotten used to it, and they know it is what it is. And like I told my my son at the time, and I was just like, I was like, there's things that you don't understand, son. And because he's the oldest, he's 10 now. I was like, there's things that you don't understand now. I said, but trust me, mom and dad loves you, and basically you're the glue that keep us together. That's just what you need to know. I said, you're going to hear certain sides of the story on this end, and you're going to hear certain sides on this. I said, but in due time, when you're old enough, you'll be able to adjust and see what was fabricated or what wasn't, and what the reality was. But I'm not going to have no part of that.
Yeah.
So, but they're fine.
Yeah.
The one that got affected the most, which the youngest one always, well, I don't know. Sometimes the oldest one gets it very emotionally. And I think my son did get it very emotionally, because during that time, he ended up getting asthma really, really bad, and bronchial issues. And I realized they got very drastic during that period. And it took me a minute to pull myself out and say, okay, what's happening? And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, this is what's happening. And my youngest, she pretty much remembers everything.
Really?
From 3?
From 3.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
It was really scary. We were in the bed one day playing, and so I normally do these British accents where we talk, and and I have them to role play and so forth. So we're talking, and she's doing her little accent, and she goes, she said, well, I want you to hurry up and get married, because I just don't want you to be alone. Daddy got married again, so you need to get married. So she's saying this. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I said, it will happen, you know. And she was like, but I just don't understand. She said, when I was 3, and she said the whole story of what happened, like at one particular time. And I was just like, oh my God. And it broke my heart. And then she started crying. And she was like, when I was 3, I was so young. I couldn't understand, but I knew what was going on, but I couldn't communicate. I couldn't, I couldn't figure out the words to say. This is her. Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
And
Wow.
she told me everything.
It's scary but impressive all at the same
So-
time that
yeah.
she's able to take it in, but
She took
and
it
know that
in.
she couldn't communicate it or emote it to you guys at the time.
That was scary because she let me know
Yeah.
at that time that she was 3. And she said, this is funny, but it's kind of, but she goes, and you and Daddy was mad at each other. And I just remember him coming home to drop me off, and you wouldn't let him in the house. You looked and you grabbed me and you took us in the house and you closed the door.
Oh. Oh my God.
And I was like, and I do remember her at that time saying, like, he was holding her and she was like, see, mommy's not mad anymore, Daddy. Mommy's not mad. Like it's so like,
Oh.
and that's the type of thing that you have to live with when you're going into it or you're in it. You don't see that emotion that the kids, that's when you say, oh, they'll be fine. Like it's not a big deal. But for her to bring this up not long ago, and she started crying and just really being really emotional with it. So I just kind of let her, I let her finish talking, and she was just like, it was just so sad, Mommy. It was just like I just didn't understand it. And I'm just sitting up there, oh my gosh, kids are so brilliant at very young ages.
Yeah.
They get it. Like they get life.
Yeah.
They get it, but they can't, they can't communicate. They don't know the words to put together. They don't know how to sort out their emotions. They don't know how to put it all together and help you understand what they're doing. All they know is to cry.
They feel.
To cry, scream, or they feel,
Yeah.
And that was that was like, it broke my heart. So at that time, my son was in the bed with me too. And he's a little macho guy. So he kind of tried to break up the monotony. So he's like, oh, started acting goofy. And I'm like, chill out, she's talking. No, this is like but that was his way of not wanting to revisit that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That is really wow.
Yeah.
Kids are amazing.
Yeah.
She remembered it at 3.
Wow.
And then just recently she told me, she said, you know what? When you and Daddy got a divorce, I was only 3. That's messed up. I was like, really? I said, well, it is kind of, but I said, life goes on, baby. And you're fine, right? She was like, yeah, but that's messed up. How could you do that to a 3-year-old? Like she was being funny, but she was being serious as well. I was like, oh my God, these kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're doing well, really communicating with them now.
Yeah, well, I've always been a communicator with everybody, with everything. I like communicating. I think that's what we lack sometimes, and we want to, if we don't speak words or we don't communicate, things can be thrown out of context. Like it's basically misleading. We just expect people to look at things from our perspective, but we can't communicate effectively. So I've always tried to communicate with my kids on a more mature level. Like I never spoke to them like a baby because they're humans, you know what I mean? And in order for them to be able to speak very well when they get older, you have to communicate them a certain way. I mean, I can't say certain things that I would say, as an adult, but they're very, and that's why my 3-year-old was able to come back and communicate how she really felt, even though she didn't understand it. She had enough skills of communication to be able to, and like, Mom, this is what happened at 3, and I just didn't really understand it. So it was,
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of I give them the reality of it. I don't really try to hide much from them because I feel like that can do more harm than good. We feel like we're protecting them through certain things, and when they're not informed correctly to be able to sort out their emotions, it can really hinder them in a way, and then they become resilient or resistant or kind of rebellious when they get older, you know. So
Yeah.
that's my philosophy. I don't know how anybody else parent, but that's just what I've seen that and it works.
And
Yeah, it
that's
sounds
just
like a great philosophy.
yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like it works well.
Yeah.
And, the boyfriend and I, we don't have kids, so we are certainly not experts in that field.
I'm not an expert. Most people that have kids are not experts.
Right.
Even the ones that wrote books say they're experts are not
And
experts
experts.
because each kid you
It's
parent
different.
differently and you just go with the flow of what it comes so naturally. Like people,
Really?
it comes really natural. There's a book where you want to be this ideal parent and you want to parent this way and you have this amazing tyrant of a kid that's like really wild and you got to adjust. You can't raise them like they're going to be very logical and tame or whatever. They pretty much raise you kind of, or they tame you or domesticate you to conform to what they want, how they want to be parent.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like my 8-year-old is totally different from my 10-year-old, although they're boy and girl, but both of them are very competitive athletically wise. But my 8-year-old is a creator. She's flyby. She's very careless. She could care less. Like she's a loving, like she wants to save the world. My son, he wants to rule the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's very logical, very mathematic, like he's very intense. So I raise them differently, even though we're in the same household. I deal with each one of them differently.
Yep.
No, and I hear it from my son, well, you don't do this to her. But I'm like, okay, son, get over it.
Two totally different people. It's like
Yeah.
managing people in a business. It's same thing. You don't manage any of them exactly the same.
It really
you don't
is.
get the same results.
And it really is. And the funny thing is that they teach me so much about myself. Like they teach me, like my son, believe it or not, him being 10, he has taught me more about men than I know about men dating or being married.
Wow.
Really?
I am not kidding.
That's
And it
really cool.
started when we were going through our divorce. And he said, well, since daddy's not here anymore, I'm going to be the man of the house until you get a boyfriend or a husband.
He has it all figured out.
He does.
Oh my.
And I was like, oh yeah, okay, great. And his way of doing stuff, I thought he was being rebellious and I thought he was acting out because we were going through our thing, but I didn't know he took that literally.
He was
actually
serious.
took that literally. Yes, he was very serious. Until I think I was reading, Dr. Allen, Pat Allen is Getting to I Do. She's like the relationship. She wrote this book, which is a great book because it talks about male and female energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was reading that book and I was like, oh my God, he's stressing his male energy. And I think when you're a woman and you're raising kids, especially a man child, you want to be that much tougher on them, which can also translate to kind of being chastising, and it can kind of break them a little bit. So when I read the book, it was just one page, a light bulb went off, and I was like, "Oh my God, he took that literally." So then I started watching him, and I laughed. I was like, "Wow." So instead of me demanding to do things for him to do things, I had to request, and he was pretty much like, "I'll be like, well, honey, did you empty the trash?" Like I gave him a chore to empty the trash bags or change the trash bags and put it in. 5 years old, he's proudly, "Mommy, I did it." Certain things, I was like, okay. Until this day, he's pretty much like that still.
Yeah. But it came from changing what you...
Yeah,
how
it
you
could have
talk
went
to
wrong.
him.
It could have, yeah. It sometimes I go back and forth because I'm like, look, because now he's a smart kid, and he think he knows more than I do. He think
Wait
he
till
has
they're
this thing. Yeah, he
teenagers.
think he has life figured out, and he's a little bit of a chauvinist, I should say. Like he's a boy, which don't think girls should do certain things, and he's like caught in this role of boy.
Interesting. Where does he get this from?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know. It might be genetically inherited. I don't know.
Well, okay. So knowing that he is this little man, right, and has these things, how does he feel about his mom being an entrepreneur and doing having her own business? And
I think he
because I would think that you're pretty independent.
Yeah, I think he's used to that. I think he grew up with it. So that's all they've ever known. Because I'll leave and go out of town for 3 or 4 months if I'm working on a project or so forth. So they're kind of used to that. They don't see me doing anything else. However, one particular time, I think I was gone for like 3 months working in Miami. And I had to have a conversation with him. So he lets me do that. But then it gets to a point where I can tell when he misses me. Because he just stares at me like we would FaceTime each other and he would just do this dead stare. But anytime up until then, like he knew, he was like, oh, you'll be gone for 2 months. Okay. He's a guy. Okay. All right, cool. I don't see out of sight, out of mind. Okay. You do what you have to do. But don't keep calling me. Basically, that's the thing. And
if you're going to be gone, be gone.
Exactly. And that's another thing. I kind of was like, oh my God, I get men so much more.
Yeah.
So
the boyfriend does that to me. He's like, I thought you left. Why are you calling?
Exactly. That's so it starts so young. It's just innate in their being. So he goes, so I'll call like every so often. I'll call every week. He was like, "I'm fine, Mom. Why are you calling? Why do you keep calling me? I'm fine. I'm with Daddy and Grandma." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So then I was like, "Okay." So I backed up with calling. So then I think I end up having to be there a couple of weeks later than I had told him. Then that's when I got the calls, and he was like. So I'm sitting on FaceTime where he's like, I thought you were coming home. I was like, well, I'll be home. I have to clean up and, break down production and so forth. So in about 2 more weeks. Well, you said that that's going to be like January 5th or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, honey, I'll be home and we'll spend some time together. Mommy will be home for a while and so forth. So when I got back to LA, I ended up having to go. I saw him for one day, my kids for one day, and I had to go on another project, but it was just a short project. He was so upset. He goes, why do you have to go? When you said that you were gone for 3 months, you wouldn't have to go anywhere anytime soon. And I was like, okay, I did say that, but Mommy's self-employed. I work for myself. I have, these things happen. And he was like, yeah, but you said, I was like, honey, I'll make it up. So once you tell a guy something.
Stop looking at me.
Once you tell a guy something, they have in their head, that's what it is.
Yeah, they do.
And if it's going to change, you have to check with them to see if that's okay that changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Except the boyfriend is learning that it will, no matter what I tell him, it will change.
It will change. But now that he knows that's like, and it's just one of those things.
It's a plan. It's a plan. We got it in our head. This is what it is, and it's
that
back.
Plan,
but now the
he
plan's
has to plan everything.
That's where the saying goes, stick to the plan. I think that was a man saying that, stick to the plan.
I think so too. And there are good things about that, but yeah, that's something. Yeah, he is definitely a little man.
Yeah, but I think he's used to it, and he says little things with encouraging my business, and it's cute. But he doesn't really help a lot. My daughter helps; like she'll help label stuff and help me with stuff, and he'll be on a computer. Like he's not interested. No, he's interested in what he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what you're doing with your business as an entrepreneur. So this is something you had mentioned that kind of came out during your divorce, right?
Yeah, in the process.
So what happened?
Oh, wow. You're taking me back memory lane. So this is an interesting story. I told you, like, it's I don't know if we have enough time, but I will make it very short. So during the process of all this devastation happening, I was in a transition, and I was going back to school for film and television because I write and direct. So it kind of gave me an opportunity to pull out the industry. And I think I was in a valley. So I met this man showed up from nowhere. I don't know if he dropped out the sky or anything.
That's
This is
usually
a true
this is
story.
actually how men show up.
Yeah,
They
no,
just kind
this is
of
a
show
true
up,
story,
drop out
but
of the
it's gonna
sky.
seem really freaky and like it's gonna feel strange. So I was going through something I didn't know was happening. This was before we actually went through the process. So I didn't even know we were getting a divorce, but the relationship was pretty much falling apart prior to, and I was very unhappy and so forth. So I'm in school, but I end up going to a Starbucks to go study. But I couldn't make up my mind which Starbucks I wanted to go to. So I went to one Starbucks and I was like, oh, I don't want to go this one. This one looks too crowded. Then I go to another one. I'm like, oh, but this parking lot is kind of weird. So then I go around the corner and I'm like, well, no, I'll stay here and not park here. So I go and park in this other spot. I walk out, I walk out of my car and I go into the Starbucks and it's pretty noisy. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be here. So I go back to my car and this man pops up. I don't know where he got. I'm very observant. I don't know where he came from. And he goes,
did you scream?
well, it was so quick. I quickly got in my car and I was like, excuse me. Yeah, what may I help you? He was like, I have a message for you. And I was like, a message for me. And I'm turning around. I'm looking like somebody's playing games with me. And he was like, no. He was like, do you have a second? I was like, well, step back. You know, I'm in my car. He was like, well, give me three things that that you are most concerned about. And I was like, he was like, don't tell me. He said, I'm going to walk over here, write it on a piece of paper in your car or whatever. And when you're finished, just ask for me back. So I wrote it on my paper, never showed him the paper. He called out all three things that were on that paper. Right?
Wow.
What?
So,
what?
so I go.
Not where I saw this going.
Exactly. I was just going to say, so I'm like, oh, he was like, I have a message for you. I have to give it to you. He was like, do you have a second to talk? So the Starbucks that I said was too crowded, I walked over to the outdoor seating and sat with him. And he said, there's so much going on with you and this, that, and the other. He said, there's people in your life that you shouldn't trust. He said, one is, I think, a husband or a boyfriend or some male. And the other one's an older lady. So I'm like, okay, not thinking anything. He was like, but he said, there's something that makes you really happy. And I'm like, he said, creating. You're more happiest when you're creating. And he's like, you haven't created in a long time. He said, I see your name somewhere big. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be big. It's going to be da-da-da. So at this point, I'm nearly in tears. Because I'm like, this is freaky. I'm not ready for this. I don't know who you are, where you came from. Okay, but just hold up. So I pretty much was like, grab my stuff. I was like, okay, that's way too much. So I leave. He was like, no, I'm not. I was like, I think I've heard enough. So I leave and I'm just like, all day, all night, I'm just like in my head, like, oh my God. So I called my dad. My dad lives in Atlanta. And I'm telling him what happened. And he was like, well, you know what? It was an Indian guy, an Indian man. He was like, I work with, this Indian friend of mine. He's really cool. He's like, let me see if that's something that's even real. So I'm like, okay. Still on my mind. So basically, moving fast forward, that's where my name for the skincare line came from. Even though my name is Cole, I didn't think of it being that.
Uh-huh.
So my graphics artist and I were trying to figure out, because before it was Last Looks, and we were trying to figure out a name, and I was like, that doesn't feel right. What is it? What would it be? So I'm going on and on and going on. So I started writing my name on a piece of paper, and I was like, oh my God, Cole Skincare for Men. And then it pulled me back to, is this what this man was telling me about? So then we started designing the logo, which is just basically my signature, and they just enhanced it. And I'm like, Oh my God. So when I saw it, it clicked and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So that's pretty much was like the evolution of the name. Now, before I knew what was going to go in the product, I had the packaging designed first.
Really?
Yeah, I
You did
had the
all of that
logo.
first?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so not what I would have thought.
Yeah. It was really so the downfall of that I had in my head, this perfect packaging that I want, and it took me forever to find it. And when I did, it was custom. It was way too expensive, so I had to go back to the drawing board and get the cheaper version of because to buy bottling and products, it's like have to buy like tens and twenty
Yeah.
thousands of
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and it's really expensive if you know, and it's just not when you're a startup. It's not it doesn't make any sense to do that.
No.
So I was fixated on
No,
these
because then
bottles.
you're going to be giving that away for holiday gifts the rest of your life.
Exactly.
You're like, how many people do I know that need this?
Yeah, you just sit them out in the trunk and be like, come on and grab. So I
mean-
had to, so with the packaging, even though the logo stayed the same, I was like, let me rethink the packaging and just do. So I started working with a friend of mine, Angela. She's from Taiwan. She was my liaison between my chemist in Taiwan and I. And she worked and she helped me through a whole lot to kind of keep this stuff afloat because at the time I was going through my divorce, and if it wasn't for her like pushing me and just being on top of stuff, it probably would have fell through the cracks because I was juggling. Like I was trying to, I hadn't worked in like a year, and then I had to go back to work and have two small kids and try to figure all that stuff out. It was just it was pretty challenging.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot. How long did it take you from your, the idea to getting it launched?
So the first, I did like a small sampling first, and then I did pre-orders. Before I actually ordered the product, and to see how many people would support and interested in it. And I had probably about maybe like 75 to 100 orders. And that was just people that were in my phone and so forth. And but I started.
That's pretty significant.
I think I started late 2014, and like February 2015 was my first batch of products.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little over a year, probably.
Yeah, well, a little under probably. Yeah, but actually, it was a year because I would include the logo graphics and everything. So about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what? So 2015. So now you've had it a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that? What's that like?
Oh wow! It's it's so good to go into business by yourself, but there's so much harsh reality.
Yeah.
But I just believe that, it's been good. It hasn't been as this is what I have to realize. I said, compared to everybody out that needs to know about it, don't know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's basically, the great thing with social media and that platform is that it gives you opportunity to speak to people that you would be in touch with, that you can't, like the media, marketing or advertising or print editorial stuff that is very pricey, that you're able to reach a certain level of people on that platform, which is actually great. But also the thing is learning how to utilize that platform is very tedious within itself,
Oh yeah, it's time consuming.
Oh my gosh. So
you go on there to make a post on social media. The next thing you know, like 3 days have gone by. You haven't eaten, gotten groceries, changed your clothes, or just washed your hair.
And you know what's
It's
so
like, what
crazy?
happened?
Yeah, it's social media is, this is a thing where I realize the people that have time to post on social media don't actually really do a lot but be on social media.
Yeah.
Because when you're really actually you don't have time to sit there, oh, let me post this. It takes a minute. And, but I had partnered up with a couple of people, and my partner and I, and we kind of studied this whole social media thing. So we're maximizing it because it's a great, great platform to sell your business.
Mhm.
And especially Instagram has been really good to us. But it's a lot of work. It's nonstop. Like I get anxiety at times where when I realize, so this is the thing. I feel like once I complete a task, it's over. Like I don't have to revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I did that. I don't need to revisit that. I need to go into, you got to daily manage
Yes.
every single aspect of it. So that's what's hard, you know. And my kids have gotten so used to me because I'll be at the computer and I'm like, oh, you're working for our future.
Do they do the air quotes?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because
Because they'll be like, Mommy, come play with us. Come watch TV. Come watch a movie. I'm like, I'm working. Well, you're working. You're on a computer. Yeah, I'm working on a computer, honey. Well, okay. I said, well, I'm doing this for your future. I'm doing this so we can, you know, we're going to be rich. And, you know, you want that big house. And you want that puppy. You want that. And then, so they'll see me and they'll be like, oh, I forgot you're working for our future. I'm like, oh, my God. So that's what I have to deal with.
Oh, that's awesome.
But other than that, I'm enjoying it. Like I'm learning. I just sometimes I have to pull away from it though. Like if I don't have a some type of spark or some type of movement that's opening up, you have to pull yourself away from it and let the universe or whatever is going to pull up. You do as much work as you can and then you sit back and be still. That's the thing that we don't really do as entrepreneurs and as, you know, small business owners. We don't realize that your efforts will go and it's going to open up so much more. You don't have to keep doing. You can engage, but you don't have to keep doing stuff.
You get in your own way if you keep doing stuff.
You do.
Yeah.
And I've learned that. So if I don't feel a spike or a light of something to do and I'm just doing stuff just to be doing it, I'll sit back and I just will like, okay.
It's also tough to be creative when you're doing the day-to-day grind. It takes away from your creativity. So it's nice to have that ability to step back.
That's so true. And I'm being such a creative person. I can't create if I'm stuck in administrative work. I just can't.
So,
like I can't. And it's hard for me to shift. It's hard for me to equally do both things in one day or in a week. So either I got to do all administrative stuff for 3 days straight, and then I got to rest and reset, and then I got to go into creative mode. Like my partner and I think Nefertiti, we do a lot of events together. And she was talking to me about something today that we had to look on some administrative. I was like, hold up 1 second. I was like, I can't think about that right now. I'm in writing mode. I'm in creative mode. I said, I can't shift that fast. You can't, you know what I mean? And she's like, oh, no. I said, well, don't even mention it, please. Stop.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Because I'll be in one mode and then the boyfriend will say something and then I'm like, you realize my mind's going to explode any minute now because I just can't.
You get information overload.
Yeah.
And then you get anxiety. I realize I get anxiety. And I didn't realize what it was. Like I just thought,
business will do that to you.
Yeah.
Yes, it will.
Oh my God. I feel like you're in my head right now saying all of my thoughts word for word. I'm not kidding. I'm like, serious? I am the exact same way.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's like I can't just go from one being creative into like taking things off a to-do list.
Yeah.
You know, and it's two totally different things.
Yeah, I can't even, when I'm in creative mode, I can't even pay my bills.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I'm like, oh shit, they turned the cable, the internet's off. Or you forgot to pay the bill because it's been a month since you've been working in creative mode.
That's a long creative mode.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, we did a huge campaign and I have some amazing model actors, handsome men.
I saw those photos.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
So,
I'd be in creative mode all the time. Look, another photo shoot. Sorry, boyfriend.
That's fine.
And that's been really hard to try to figure out how to maximize that campaign. Because then when you start driving a campaign, it's even that much more time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in this social media engagement.
Yep.
Because you got to get everybody and tag them and converse with them and da-da-da-da. So it's a lot.
Yeah. Social media, it seems like it's such a simple thing. Like go in there, make a post. No, it's not. It's not that at all. There's a science
It's a strategy
to it. There's
a
strategy to it and it's tedious.
Yeah.
It can be you have to really know what your
I hired
objective is.
over the period, I've wasted so much money. I've hired social media, online, SEO, whatever, and everybody claims they know what they're doing. But you don't know that until you see what they till
Do
you see what they do
or don't do.
or don't do. And even if you educate yourself beforehand to see, you don't know what the results are going to be. So we just now pretty much got our Instagram in a really good systematic situation where it's working. It's
Mhm.
been 2 months now. So now it's time to move on to the Twitter and the Facebook. Twitter, we kind of have that figured out, but the Facebook thing, I'm still a little unsure with that one because they want you to buy all these ads. You know, it's just not
Yeah.
like it used to be. So
No,
they
it's
want you to
not. They
keep buying.
change all
Yeah.
the algorithms. Why can't I speak?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they do. They change that stuff all the time.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
then you don't know, like I think one time I bought an ad on there and you don't know that if those are real people or not. You know, the audience that you create, you don't know if those are real people or not.
Right.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
when you're dealing with sales, it doesn't matter how many people looking at or how many reach if it's not converting to
Right. You want yeah.
conversions,
It's
then
like
it's like, what's the point?
it's like good. So what? So 6,000 people saw it, but I just still am sitting here with like a whole box of
Products, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
oh, Christmas is coming up quick, guys.
Everybody's gonna get some skincare for Christmas. We're gonna have a lot of clean faces. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true though. It's having your own business and then on top, like, okay, even doing what I'm doing with Life After Divorce. I don't have any children,
Mhm.
but you have 2 kids that you're taking care of and you're working for their quote their future. And doing that's a lot of pressure.
It
You
is.
know?
And they eat a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't go
Yeah.
without for very long.
And they like to eat fancy stuff.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
who brought that to their
I probably did, but I just sometimes I'm like, you guys really, like, no.
What's
But
their favorite?
they're, you know what? And since my son is gay, he doesn't order off the kids menu anymore, which is really
Oh
disappointing.
no.
He eats an entree,
Yeah.
and I'm like, really? And he's this little skinny kid about this big,
Uh-oh.
but he eats a whole lot, and I'm like, oh my god! In 2 more years, it's gonna even be more. But they, of course, when they get out of school, they like Chick-fil-A or they
Yeah.
like In-N-Out.
Yeah.
But they love like fish. They'll go to Chicken Maison, and you ever been that place?
No.
No.
What's
Do you like
Chicken Maison?
Mediterranean food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you have to go. They have a couple of them in Torrance. They have one, where are we? Crenshaw. They have one off of, there's one in Manhattan Beach, Inglewood, and
I'll get the name and we'll
Yeah.
check it
yeah,
out.
You're gonna have to
it's
check
really
this
good. The
out.
food is nice and clean, so they like to eat there.
I
It's
like
not that
clean
expensive.
food.
Exactly, we all like clean
Yeah,
food,
right.
but it's a really good spot. Like they have Greek food, like it's Mediterranean.
Yeah.
It's really really good, and they have some really good pasta dishes. They have some good kebabs. My son, like first he used to get the chicken, now he wants salmon kebabs, which is like
Whoa.
$10 more.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, what did you
and he
what-
wants his own. He doesn't want to share with his sister.
Of course not.
So I'm
Wow.
like, yeah.
Oh,
So
you
they
have your
like
hands
stuff
full.
like that. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. It gives me, the great thing about, when you're going through it, you don't really know what it's going to end up like. But actually being divorced was very liberating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when he has the kids, I actually have a break.
What's that like?
It's amazing versus we're living together and you come home and nobody gets a break. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like, I actually am kidless when he has them.
So
when
what do
he
you
has
do?
his custody.
What's your nights off like?
Sleep, work, on a
Sleep to work.
computer.
Yeah.
Falling asleep on the couch in front
Yeah,
of the TV.
That's exactly what I do. I swear I'm going to do. So it's so funny because when they're not home, I do less than when they're home. When they're home, I feel like I have to manage everything. So I'm cooking on the computer, doing work. I don't know if they motivate me to do stuff. And when they're not there, I just get lazy and just don't want to do anything. But I feel like I do more work when they're home.
Yeah. Someone's watching.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So are you also still writing and producing?
Well, I hadn't in a while. And within the last year and a half, things have been dropping in my lap. And I've been going back and forth with wanting to get back into it. And I actually have a project that I'm going to do a trailer in December for some young writers in Atlanta. They came up with this concept and I'm supposed to direct that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's like a 2-day shoot. Nothing big, but they were trying to shop it to a couple of networks for a feature film.
That's really great.
Yeah.
That's good. So you are definitely busy unless you don't have the kids. Then we then we know you're getting a break, which is really good. But this is awesome. And hearing your story at how it's almost kind of like, when you finally let go of the fight, really good things started happening. Men started coming out from the sky. People started dropping product.
The funny thing, the man came out in the sky. That was pre me knowing what I was about to go through.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He didn't I didn't even pay attention to what he was really saying, but that was a warning to get ready for a fight. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize.
Right. That was right before.
That was right before. And when I tell you it started happening within that week.
Oh, wow.
Really? That quick?
And I still didn't get it until I looked back and I was like, oh my God, he saw this. I was like, he was the real deal. Jeez, where'd he come from? Like,
should go find him again.
Yeah. You're like, what's
know
next?
what? It's one of those things I don't know. Seriously, I don't know where that man came from. Like, I didn't see him anywhere prior to me going to my car. I don't know if he dropped out of the sky or he did some magic code. Like, it was so random.
Have you been back to that Starbucks?
No, it was in the valley, so I don't really go to the valley much.
So I don't usually hang out in a Starbucks myself, but that's where the boyfriend and I met.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So when you started that story, we're like, wait a minute, where are you going with this?
Yeah. I was like,
we know what happens at a Starbucks.
Yeah. I mean, anything could, but you meet some amazing people at the Starbucks because that's like a nice little, they need to do a Starbucks cafe. Where they have like a computer.
It is a cafe.
Well, not like a cafe where they have. Well, yeah, it is a cafe, but you know how you actually have computers set up where you can actually go in there and log in like that. Because they have them in Miami and they're called cafes.
Yes.
Like that, but like not
an internet cafe.
Yeah, and there you go. That's what I want to say. Internet cafe, not a Starbucks cafe, like an internet cafe. They probably will.
Yeah.
I'm utterly impressed or uberly impressed, however you want to say it, about because you went through this and started the business and did this all while you were going through the drama in your life with the kids. And I know the girlfriend, Leanne, she's doing this and without kids, and how much work and how much effort it goes into that. This is amazing on how well where you're at and how your trajectory is going up from this, and to be able to have the perseverance to get through it with all of the life drama. It's it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
thank you. It was hard.
It truly is.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was definitely, there was some, I cried.
It's never
I didn't
easy.
know what it was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that it was hard. It was letting go of something. Like at one point, like I had shaped everything around the kids and him. I had pretty much lost all my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I don't know what to do. So I'm calling people like, hey, what you doing there? It's like, oh, we're going to such and such. They had moved on without me. And it was like the most devastating part was, and this is not even that was disappointing with the fight. You know, I was very disappointed in him and he probably was very disappointed in me. We were disappointed in each other, you know. But going through it, the worst part of it was trying to find myself and define who I was at that moment.
Yeah.
And that was, and I'm still doing that at this moment, you know, because it's hard. It's like, you know, I think now I kind of got a grab on it, a hold where I kind of understand and I can, you know, I'm prevailing from it. But that was the most difficult part of it.
I think because I totally understand where you're coming from, and I hear you, and I feel like part of it for me too is once I started letting go of what I thought it was supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
and we should have been here right now instead of here right now,
Mm-hmm.
type thing, and struggling to find out who I am afterward versus what I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like starting so over and feeling so lost.
Yeah.
Because you no longer like I feel like I no longer belong in this box, and now I'm out here, and this doesn't feel like feels like I'm supposed to be here, but this doesn't quite feel right either.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's
And like when going through that, like a lot of my friends that I really like and I really miss, you don't want to face your friends that are married. Even though one of my girlfriends, Jamie, she's so amazing. She was so mad. She was like fighting with me. Like she was like, asshole. Like, you know
Yep,
what But it was even embarrassed to go around those people that cared about you because you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to even be reminded of what you're going through. And sometimes having the faces of people that were around when you were in a good situation, you have to face them even in a bad situation. But when you're trying to dig yourself out of, changing your mindset, you got to kind of let them go too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the really hard part. And then once you get back to your individuality, then you can revisit that friendship or revisit that community of people that, because, everybody wants to be supportive, but they want to also know what's going on. And you just kind of don't want to keep talking about it. You're like, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you do want to, that's the weird thing. Is like, I want to talk about it, but I don't know that I want to talk about it with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I want to answer those questions.
Or you don't want to keep
rehashing it.
Like if you like, well, what did he do? Like you don't want to keep, like even if you're going through it, you don't want to keep rehashing what's happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you want to take a drink and just don't talk about something else, going on a wild vacation or a girls' night out or whatever it is. But it's I don't wish it for anybody, but I also it's really ironic that one of my friends is going through a situation and marriage is hard. And I think it's hard because we as people make it hard. We have an expectation upon a road that we don't even want to fulfill ourselves. Like we put the expectations, we expect one person to do more than what we want to do. And I think that's what makes it hard. And I think also when you don't have a common goal about what the relationship is going to be or what you're working towards, that's where a lot of stuff get confused. And I think having those conversations and talking on it regularly, and just basically communicating on it, because we change our minds. We have shifts in lives that we might have an epiphany, we might have a revelation or whatever it is, but you have to communicate that with your mate. You have to communicate that with whoever you're in a relationship. And if you don't, you expect that person to support you on that. And that's not always the case because you told me this plan. That's just like my son. You told me this plan, but you have to renegotiate that contract. And if you don't renegotiate it, and you have to be willing to let go, because just because you had a shift and your partner doesn't want to shift with you, that's their right.
Yep.
And if it's not going to be supportive all the way through, or you're going to have to constantly hear what you should have did or what you shouldn't do, and that you don't want to hear that. You want to have that concrete support and just continue to, move on or look forward or keep moving forward or see greater things or experience greater things. So I think just keeping that line of communication open and just really being supportive and being okay with saying, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't feel comfortable with wanting to, oh my God, I just had deja vu. I've been here before. No, seriously, in this room.
Really?
I'm sorry, that was so random. I was like, oh my God, I feel like this is creepy. So I scared you.
Yes, I'm like, hey, you've been here before.
So I think just, having that understanding, that overstanding, not even understanding, like that overstanding of really knowing that it's okay to shift and change. It's okay. And, people fall in and out of love. It's just what it is. And you're okay to move on to another love. And one love is to love yourself more, So it's so much that goes into just a healthy relationship, whether it be a life partner or a boyfriend or a husband or your kids or whatever, it's so much that goes into that. And everything, even business, personal, um, public, is relationships. And you have to figure out how it fits into your life. And if it doesn't fit what you want, it's okay to not engage.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So
That's how-
That's
yeah.
incredibly important because I don't think a lot of people realize that.
they don't.
No.
Yeah.
Like one of my girlfriends, I tell you, when I was going through, she was like, "You need to date. You need to date. You need to be a serial dater." I was like, "No, I don't." And I'm fine. Because one thing I don't want to do is when you're going through a divorce or you're going through some emotions, you don't want to start jumping into something just to do it. You have to redefine yourself. You have to reset. You have to be whole, because what'll happen is you'll start getting broken people into your life of what you're expressing right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And women, we have men are they have their own thing. They're not emotionally attached. They could do, right, boyfriend? I mean, it's
Yeah.
a different sense. Like women, we got to feel good in order to do good and, this type of thing. So we do a lot of things on feeling.
Yes.
And if we feel sad or we want to feel happy or important, we're going to go out and probably date. And if that guy doesn't say the right thing to make you feel or be happy,
To validate us.
it's going to be a miserable date. But you have to look in the mirror every day and validate yourself.
Yep.
But if you're going through a situation where you're not whole, how are you going to ask somebody to validate you when you can't validate yourself?
Yeah, that's not
You
their
know.
job.
No, it's not. But it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most people do.
Yeah,
And I think most people do find that. I think it's easy to do, to have
Yeah.
someone go do that job for me.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm much better off when I don't.
Yeah.
When I take care of it myself.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, but then it's and then it's also better when
When
you
you-
are with somebody else, because then
Yes.
I know that you and we can take both of our own individual personalities together to make something better.
Better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's just finding the right person. Like I just now recently, within the last, when we're in November? Oh my God. We're in November.
We're saying the
So
same
just, I swear the older you get, the time goes by so fast. So I just now, within the last 6 months, decided that, okay, I'm ready to be back in a relationship. I'm ready to, be in a relationship that's leading towards marriage. Just now, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
No time sooner. Because I was still trying to, because, if you don't really, you'll end
You
up.
still had you still have a
Yeah.
lot of things going on,
Yeah.
but you were at least now moving in a positive direction, and you're at a point where you're ready to invite someone else in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I probably would like to have played a little bit more, but it wasn't. When you have two small kids, it's like you got to guard that with
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. It's like it has to be the right person.
You have different priorities.
Yeah.
It's completely different. I look at other friends that I have that had children, and that's a game changer when it comes to dating.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah. And then it's so funny because one of my guy friends, we worked together. He was like, he wanted to make this whole big deal about age. And I looked at him, I was like, you're such a sexist pig. Like, you want, like, you better hurry up and, because you're getting older, whatever. I said, says who?
Yeah.
Says who? I said, age is a state of mind. Like, what are you talking about?
Yep.
And I had to stop him in his track. And it was like, no, you feel that way because you haven't been in a relationship or you haven't been married. Now you played. Now you're ready to get in a relationship. Now your clock is ticking. Whatever, your menopause or whatever is
Right.
ticking. But don't put that on me. But if I was not in a whole place of completion for myself, I would have took that in and been very vulnerable to that information. I would have been like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you
'cause
have to be careful with people. You have to check people when they say certain things.
Yeah, because oftentimes it's just them projecting.
Yeah.
Their own
own
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
But you got to be, and I was like, no, I don't want that. Take that back. That's you.
Yeah. just hold the mirror up and send the reflection their way. It's
Exactly.
like,
With the
no.
sun beaming in it.
Oh my gosh. It's so fun talking to you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
This is fun. I like it. This is fun.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Any questions or anything?
No,
I'm an open book. You might as well just ask me whatever you want to ask me now.
So what's coming up then?
Yeah.
So continue with
Cold
Cold
skincare
skincare
for
cold
men.
skincare for men.
Yeah.
Yes, you're continuing with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And continue building the company. Are you starting commercials or like TV commercials? Or
I did one. That's another. It's so much work. It's so much work. It's so much work. It's so much work. I plan to have done a commercial like 2 years ago. I did a photo shoot in Atlanta top of the year. And I did a small commercial during the photo shoot, and I did a behind the scenes commercial. But I really want to shoot they call them fashion film series, which is basically like a mini movie type of product ad. So I'm in the process of thinking that out and wanting to do that as well. So
Okay.
yeah.
Those are
Great.
some fun
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah. When I tell you, it's so much fun.
Well, if you were to, our listeners out there, a lot of them have been divorced or thinking about it. I mean, who's not? But there's some point in their divorce journey. Like, what would you tell them about? I mean, you're doing so much now, to somebody out there, like, what's next in my life? In that spot of like, who am I?
What would I tell them? If I could tell, so I like to use little metaphors or whatnot. So, when you get on the plane and they go through the safety procedures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they show you a mask and they tell you before assisting others, you have to put your mask on first, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would tell the person.
Put your oxygen mask
on first because
Take care of yourself.
take care of yourself.
Mhm.
Yep.
Basically take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself and you're not whole, you can't be whole for your children. You can't be whole for whoever you need to be whole for. So you have to take care of yourself and don't feel like you're being selfish. People look at being selfish as a bad thing, non-altruistic, I guess, but being selfish is okay because you have to take care of yourself. Because if you don't, who's going to do it better?
Mm-hmm.
And people are only going to treat you how you treat yourself. So if you don't treat yourself with a certain type of entitlement, I know people hate to use that word because you don't want to feel like you, but we are human beings. We're entitled. We think we're going to wake up every morning. We feel like we're entitled to certain things, and it's okay. I think that's what I would tell them. Take care of yourself. And even if it takes you a minute to come out of there and you feel like, well, because we as parents, we run around and we want to take care of the kids, and we're looking crazy, hair all over the place, and halfway take a breath, and then you run yourself ragged till you are no good for your children. You have to take a breather, pull back, and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like seriously, you have to take care of yourself. Because if you don't, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well.
True. It's true.
Yes.
Oh, we need some lessons in self-care.
You have to. You only get one body.
Yeah.
You only get one. Like the great thing with waking up in the next day is that you can do it over. Whatever you didn't accomplish the day before, you can do it. But if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to keep wearing yourself down. You're going to feel it each day.
Yeah.
And you're not going to give yourself 100%. You're going to be so worn out. You're going to be so tired. You have to take care of yourself.
So true. Well, thank you so very much for coming out
You're
tonight. And it
welcome.
was so great to have you here. And we're excited to see all the things that you're doing with your business and the skincare products. And, hey, the holidays are coming, so we might have to place an order so you don't.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So I won't have overstock on inventory.
Yep, that's right. No,
I'm just looking one day to just see millions of sales on when I log onto my store. I'm like, it's coming. Come
that's
on.
right.
But it's an amazing product. I mean, a lot of people ask me, it's like, is this only for black skin? I'm like, no, it's for skin. It's for human skin. So, but it's amazing. Like, and I'm not just saying that because it's my product. It's not a private label. I actually took the time and the research and did and, formulated ingredients that I thought would help men with their whole grooming regimen because they shave all the time.
Yeah.
So something that helps that. I have Moisture Balm, which is really good for rosacea or dry skin. Like the products are very simple. I have like 5 products
Mhm.
and they're multifunctional. So one product does everything. And then you have, even though they're categorized, like you have your cleanser, you have your toner, you have a moisturizer, but each product does everything,
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. And you use it too.
I do.
So it's not just for any skin, but it's also for women's skin.
But that's the crazy
Right?
thing. So all of my friends that when they used it or tried it, why didn't you create anything for women? I'm like, because women have so much stuff, and my clientele is mostly men. I said, so, but you can use it. Like
That's
it's okay.
it's perfect marketing. Yeah, because there's not many men products out there.
It's
No,
so
not.
there's
you're
not.
getting into that niche and
And
fulfilling that
I'm
need.
so happy about it.
Yeah.
So even though it's my company's such a boutique company, but I'm so excited to be right here, right now. So I'm so excited about it. Like seriously, I can't wait to see the company on one of these big billboards or in a nice little fashion ad, and like I'm really excited.
Well, we're excited too. We're rooting
Yeah.
for you, and this is great. We can say we knew you win.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, women can use it too. I've been using it. A couple of my female friends been using it and they love it. They shave their legs with the foaming cleanser. Yeah. Like everything.
See,
So-
boyfriends, you guys don't know what we do when we go in your shower and use all of your
Yeah.
products.
But remember, there was a time
Yep.
where men will sneak and use their wives
Yeah.
and girlfriends' product.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much. It's
You're
been
welcome.
awesome.
Thank you. This has
Thank
been
you.
great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yay!
I made it.
did
Thank you so
Good
much.
stuff.